My star quarterback brother Xavier had a full ride to Alabama until I caught him choking his girlfriend and called 911. So my parents kicked me out with garbage bags of my stuff for ruining his future. But then his girlfriend's sister took me in, and we discovered my parents had been paying off his victims for years, using my $18,000 college fund, while I had videos of the payoffs, which turned into a federal RICO case that got him 25 years, and my parents 10 years each. But he got called in prison, and now I'm a lawyer who specializes in dismantling athletic cover-up networks. Everyone claimed that I was the snitch of the family, while my brother Xavier was invincible, so I took him down like Omni-Man. Xavier was the star quarterback and got a full ride to Alabama, so he could see our cousins. Everyone in our town loved their golden boy while I was in his shadow. So I guess my parents knew I was feeling lonely, so they told me every time Xavier did something wrong. Once he threw my Xbox down the stairs and jumped on top of it, or gave me a black eye by accident during practice. Stop being sensitive, you're gonna ruin his career. But last week, I walked in on something I couldn't ignore. I came home early from school with a migraine and heard screaming from Xavier's room. His girlfriend Hallie was sobbing, begging him to stop. I cracked the door open and saw Xavier had his girlfriend Hallie pinned against his bedroom wall, his hand around her throat, but not in the good way. She was crying, begging him to let go. Without thinking, I recorded it on my phone and called 911. Xavier was arrested that night, released on bail by morning. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my entire family throwing all of my belongings into bin bags. "You've destroyed this family!" my mom screamed. "Do you know what you've done to his future? To our future!" My dad just stood there, cold as ice. "You have 1 hour to get out. You are no longer our son." I don't know why I tried to reason with him, but I did. "This isn't Xavier's first time hurting Hallie. She's a gold digger," my mom hissed, "and you helped her ruin him." So there I was, sitting outside with my garbage bags of stuff with nowhere to go when I got a call. It was Alicia, Hallie's older sister. Turns out she had heard about the police report and wanted to know how much information I had, but I was crying too hard to speak, and I guess she figured I got kicked out because she told me to just send her my location pin. 20 minutes later, she arrived in her hit-up Toyota Corolla. The drive was silent until we got to her apartment. The second we walked in the door, Alicia broke down, like completely lost it. She sat on the sofa and hugged her pillow with tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry," she repeated almost 100 times. "Hallie never told me how bad it was. I should have known. I should have protected her." I sat there, still clutching my garbage bags, not knowing what to say. Here I was, homeless at 17, and I was watching a grown woman fall apart over her sister. That's when her phone rang. Alicia put it on speaker. It was Hallie. "Becca, he won't stop texting me." Hallie's voice was shaking. "He says if I don't drop the charges, he's going to release our videos. The private ones." Alicia's face went white. "He's what?" "He's already sent me 15 messages. His parents must have given him his phone back. He says," Hallie's voice cracked, "he says he knows where you live. He knows I'm probably there." My blood ran cold. Alicia looked at me, then back at her phone. "Hallie, listen to me. OP recorded him attacking you. We have proof." There was silence on the other end. Then Hallie whispered, "OP has a video?" "Yeah," I finally spoke up. "The whole thing. Him choking you. You begging him to stop. Everything." Alicia stood up, pacing her tiny apartment. "The lawyer always said he needed someone from inside one of these families. Someone who could prove the parents knew." She stopped and stared at me. "OP, what else do you know? About Xavier? About what your parents have covered up?" I thought about all the times things got swept under the rug. The parties where girls left crying. The checks my mom wrote that she thought I didn't see. The hushed phone calls with lawyers. Everything, I said. "I know everything." Alicia pulled out her laptop. "Then we're going to bury them. All of them." I smiled. Alicia's fingers flew across the keyboard while I sat there trying to process everything. The apartment was small, just a studio with a kitchenette, but it felt safer than anywhere I'd been in years. She pulled up folder after folder on her laptop, each one labeled with dates going back 2 years. "I've been collecting evidence since my best friend Sarah got assaulted by another player on the team," she explained, clicking through files. "The school buried it. Same law firm your parents use." My phone buzzed constantly. I finally looked at the screen. Dozens of texts from Xavier's teammates. "Rat. Career killer. You're dead to us." One message from our teammate Marcus caught my eye though. He'd accidentally typed, "Tell Jessica we know she talked too," before deleting it, but I'd already screenshot it. "They're threatening other girls," I showed Alicia. She immediately saved the screenshot to her evidence folder. The apartment door rattled. We both froze. Then came the knock, 3 heavy pounds that made the walls shake. Alicia grabbed a baseball bat from behind the door while I recorded on my phone. She looked through the peephole and relaxed slightly. "It's Hallie." She opened the door and Hallie stumbled in. Even in the dim apartment lighting, I could see fresh bruises forming on her neck, darker than the ones from when I'd walked in on them. She was shaking. "He came to my dorm," she whispered. "Security let him right in. They all love him there too." Alicia helped her sister to the couch. I noticed how Hallie kept touching her stomach, a protective gesture that seemed unconscious. She caught me looking and quickly dropped her hand. "We need to get you to a hospital," Alicia said, already reaching for her keys. "No!" Hallie's response was immediate. "They'll call it a domestic dispute. Make it go away like they always do." The head nurse went to high school with Xavier's mom. My phone rang. Mom's number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "You have one chance to fix this," she said without greeting. "Come home. Tell the police you were mistaken about what you saw, and we'll forget this happened." "I have it on video, Mom." Silence. Then, "We've already changed the locks. The security codes too. Don't even think about trying to come back for your birth certificate or social security card. You wanted to destroy this family? Congratulations." The line went dead. I stared at the phone, reality sinking in. I couldn't get a job without those documents. Couldn't apply for college. Couldn't do anything. "They're trying to make you disappear," Alicia said quietly. "Make it so you can't function in society without them." She turned her laptop toward me. "But I know people. My lawyer contact, Rebecca Chen. She lost her daughter to athlete violence at another school. She's been fighting these cases for years." I thought about all the things I'd seen over the years, the late-night conversations I'd overheard. "I have more evidence," I admitted. "On my phone. Videos I took through my cracked bedroom door. My parents. They paid off Xavier's victims. Multiple times." Alicia's eyes widened. "You have video of the payoffs?" I nodded, pulling up my hidden folder. 3 different videos, 3 different girls, 3 different checks. My mother's voice clear in each one. "This should cover your troubles, but you understand you can't speak about this to anyone. This changes everything, Alicia breathed. This proves a pattern. Proves they knew. Hallie's phone buzzed, then again and again. She looked at the screen and her face went pale. He's using his teammates' phones. Different number every time, so I can't block them. She showed us the messages, threats, descriptions of what he'd do if she didn't drop the charges, photos of her walking to class that morning. He's on bail, I said. This violates his no-contact order. Alicia was already screenshotting everything. The judge's son plays football with him. Want to bet how seriously they'll take violations? A news alert popped up on my phone. Local news. I clicked it and my stomach dropped. There was my school photo next to the headline, Local Teens Jealousy Threatens Star Athlete's Future. The article painted me as a troubled kid, jealous of my successful brother. It quoted my parents extensively about my history of acting out and need for attention. All lies. They gave an exclusive interview, I said numbly. They're destroying my reputation before this even goes to trial. Alicia slammed her laptop shut. Then we need to move fast. Rebecca can meet us tomorrow, but tonight we organize everything. Every piece of evidence, every threat, every cover-up. I thought about my college fund, the account my grandparents had set up for me. I need to check my bank account, I said, pulling up the app. The screen loaded. Balance, $0. They drained it, I whispered. $18,000. Gone. When? Alicia asked, looking over my shoulder. I checked the transaction history. Multiple withdrawals over the past 2 years, all going to the same law firm. They've been using my college money to pay off Xavier's victims. Hallie suddenly stood up, hand over her mouth, and ran to the bathroom. We heard her getting sick. Alicia and I exchanged glances. Hallie? Alicia called through the door. You okay? The door opened slowly. Hallie stood there, tears streaming down her face. I'm pregnant, she whispered. 8 weeks. I haven't told anyone. I can't deal with this right now. The room felt like all the air had been sucked out. This changed everything. The danger Xavier posed, the urgency of getting protection, everything. Alicia pulled her sister into a hug. We're going to protect you, both of you. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. This is Coach Williams. The voice was friendly. Too friendly. I heard about your situation, son. Why don't you come by my office tomorrow? I think I can help sort this whole misunderstanding out. Full ride to any school you want. Just need you to remember things differently. I have it on video, Coach. His tone shifted instantly. You know, your friend Mike lives over on Elm Street, doesn't he? Xavier got a full ride to Alabama so he could see our cousins. Well, that's definitely not the usual reason people pick colleges, but okay, family bonding through football, I guess. And that girl you study with, Sarah? Pretty thing. Would be a shame if they got caught up in all this unpleasantness. The threat was clear. I hung up. He threatened my friends, I told Alicia. He knows where they live. She was already typing. Document everything. Every call, every threat. Rebecca says the feds are starting to look at these cases as organized crime. RICO charges. This could be bigger than just your brother. The next morning, I woke up on Alicia's couch to the sound of sirens. Through the window, I could see police cars. My heart raced until I realized they were driving past, not stopping. Alicia was already awake on the phone. Yes, officer, he's here. No, he's not missing. He's not dangerous. She hung up. Your parents filed a missing person report, claiming you're mentally unstable and dangerous. There's an APB out, but I'm right here. I'm fine. They're trying to get you picked up. Get you put on a psychiatric hold. Discredit you before trial. She handed me coffee. We need to be smarter. My phone showed a notification from my bank. Account frozen due to suspected fraud. The $243 I'd managed to save from my part-time job was now inaccessible. They're cutting off every avenue, I said. A knock at the door made us all freeze. Alicia looked through the peephole. I don't recognize her. It's Ms. Martinez, I said, recognizing the voice. My school counselor. Alicia opened the door cautiously. Ms. Martinez slipped inside, looking over her shoulder. She pressed an envelope into my hands. Your transcripts, she whispered. You'll need them. And she paused, pain flashing across her face. My daughter, 3 years ago. Same team. I tried to report it, but they transferred me to a different school. Threatened my job. She squeezed my hand. Be careful. Be smart, but don't give up. She left as quickly as she'd come. Hallie's phone lit up with an Instagram notification. She opened it and gasped. Xavier had posted a story. Him at a party. Red Solo cup in hand, surrounded by teammates. The location tag showed he was at the quarterback's house. Posted 10 minutes ago. He's violating bail again, I said. Drinking, partying. Police won't care, Alicia said bitterly. They'll say they can't confirm it's current. Could be an old photo. We spent the morning organizing evidence. The assault video. Screenshots of hundreds of threats. The payoff videos. 3 years of cover-ups documented in detail. Alicia created encrypted backups of everything. We need to eat, she said eventually. There's a diner down the street. The walk was tense. I kept my hood up, paranoid about being recognized. The diner was mostly empty when we arrived. The owner looked up as we entered, his face hardening when he saw me. We don't serve your kind here, he said flatly. My kind? Snitches, rats, kids who destroy good families. His son was on the football team. Of course. Get out. We turned to leave. As we passed the kitchen, a waitress slipped out the back door. She pressed a wrapped sandwich into my hands. Not everyone believes them, she whispered, then disappeared back inside. Walking back, Alicia's phone rang. Rebecca? Yes, we can meet you now. 20 minutes later, Rebecca Chen arrived at the apartment carrying boxes. She was younger than I expected, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She set the boxes on the table and opened them. Files. Dozens of them. 5 states, she said. 12 schools. All involving star athletes. All covered up the same way. She looked at me. But you're the first insider willing to testify. The first with video evidence of the payoffs. We showed her everything. She took notes, asked questions, her expression growing more serious with each piece of evidence. This is RICO, she confirmed. Organized conspiracy to cover up crimes. The payoffs, the threats, the media manipulation. It's all part of a pattern. Alicia's phone buzzed. Her rent payment had been declined. The check bounced. I don't understand. I had enough. Another knock at the door. This time it was an older woman. Hallie gasped. Grandma? The woman entered, looking frail but determined. She pressed cash into Alicia's hands. For rent, she said simply. Then to Hallie, your father is wrong. What that boy did to you. It's not okay. I won't let them silence you. Even Hallie's family was divided. That evening, exhaustion was setting in when something crashed through the window. A brick with a note rubber banded to it. Alicia carefully unfolded the paper. Drop charges or drop dead. I stared at the handwriting. My blood went cold. I'd seen it 1,000 times on birthday cards cards, permission slips, lunch notes. That's my mother's handwriting, I said. Alicia took photos of everything. The brick, the note, the broken window. Your own mother, she said quietly. I'm so sorry. As if on cue, there was pounding on the door. Police! Welfare check! Alicia grabbed her phone, starting to record. Don't open it, she whispered. They need a warrant. We have reports of a mentally unstable minor at this address, the officer called. We need to ensure everyone's safety. He's fine, Alicia called back. He's safe. You can see him through the window if you're concerned. I stood where they could see me through the broken window, hands visible. The officers tried the door handle. Locked. They pushed harder. You need a warrant to enter, Alicia said firmly, still recording. They continued trying to force entry for several minutes, while Alicia filmed everything. Finally, a supervisor must have called them off because they left, but not before one muttered about coming back with paper. We sat in the dark apartment, glass from the broken window glittering on the floor. 3 teenagers and a law student, up against an entire town's power structure. Tomorrow we file the federal charges, Rebecca said. Once it's in the federal system, the local connections won't matter as much. Hallie touched her stomach again. Will we be safe until then? Nobody answered. We all knew the truth. We weren't safe. Wouldn't be safe until this was over. But we also knew we couldn't stop now. I looked at my phone. More threats, more hate. My entire life destroyed in less than 48 hours. But then I looked at the evidence folders, the videos, the proof. They'd taken everything from me. My family, my home, my future. But they'd made one mistake. They'd given me nothing left to lose. The morning after the police tried to force their way in, I woke to find Alicia already on her laptop, creating deepfake detection software tutorials. My phone showed 17 missed calls from unknown numbers. Each voicemail contained variations of the same message. Teammates telling me to recant my statement or face consequences. Rebecca Chen arrived at 7 sharp with a federal prosecutor named Sarah Coleman. Coleman's presence changed the atmosphere immediately. She examined our evidence with the precision of someone who'd seen too many cover-ups fail. Her assessment was blunt. We had enough for federal charges, but the local corruption ran deeper than we'd imagined. While they strategized, I noticed movement outside. A van had been parked across the street since dawn. Through the cracked window, I could make out someone with a camera. My parents had hired a private investigator to document my every move. Hallie's morning sickness hit hard. Between trips to the bathroom, she showed us new messages from Xavier. He'd found ways around the no-contact order by having teammates create group chats, adding her, then removing everyone except him. The messages contained detailed threats about what would happen if she testified. Ms. Martinez called from a burner phone. She'd discovered something in the school's old disciplinary files, complaints about Xavier dating back to middle school. Each one mysteriously disappeared from the system after parent-teacher conferences. She'd made copies before they could vanish again. The deepfake videos started appearing online around noon, my face superimposed on bodies committing various acts. The technology was amateur, but effective enough to spread through our town's social media groups. Comments poured in calling me unstable, dangerous, attention-seeking. My parents had given interviews to 3 different news outlets, each time escalating their claims about my supposed mental health issues. Alicia discovered a tracking device on her car while checking the oil. The private investigator had gotten sloppy. We documented it, adding to our growing pile of harassment evidence. Rebecca made calls to colleagues, building a network of support beyond our town's reach. Coach Williams showed up at the apartment complex talking to neighbors. Through the thin walls, we heard him spreading rumors about substance activity, suggesting people should report any suspicious behavior. Within hours, someone had called in an anonymous tip about substance dealing. The police arrived with remarkable speed. This time, they had a warrant. Coleman intercepted them at the door, her federal credentials stopping them cold. She examined their warrant, obtained based on an anonymous tip with no corroborating evidence. The judge who'd signed it was the same one whose son played football with Xavier. Coleman made phone calls. The search was called off, but the message was clear. They could make our lives hell through legal channels. Marcus showed up that night. Xavier's best friend stood in our doorway, shaking. He couldn't meet my eyes as he handed over a USB drive. He mumbled something about not being able to live with himself anymore, then left before we could respond. The drive contained dozens of videos, Xavier's trophies of his conquests, some clearly showing unconscious girls. We watched in horror as the evidence revealed a pattern spanning years. My parents appeared in several videos, coaching Xavier on what to say if girls complained. In one, my mother handed cash to a crying teenager while my father explained the importance of protecting the family name. Hallie broke down completely. Marcus showing up with that USB drive? Talk about plot twists nobody ordered. Xavier's best friend just pulled the ultimate I can't sleep at night move and brought receipts that would make a CVS jealous. The stress triggered cramping that sent us racing to the emergency room. The doctor, thankfully not connected to the football program, documented everything. The bruises, the stress-induced complications, the pattern of injuries in her medical history that painted a clear picture of long-term abuse. While at the hospital, Alicia received an eviction notice. Her landlord had suddenly discovered lease violations that didn't exist. The handwriting on the notice matched other documents. Someone was coordinating a systematic campaign to isolate us. Back at the apartment, we found Marcus's car still in the parking lot. He'd left a note on the windshield, a confession about staying silent while Xavier hurt girl after girl, an apology to all the victims he could have saved if he'd spoken up sooner. His phone, left on the driver's seat, contained text threads showing how the team coordinated their cover-ups. The next morning, Marcus was found in his apartment. The official cause was sewer slide, but the timing felt too convenient. His note became evidence. His death became motivation. 7 more victims reached out to Rebecca that day, emboldened by Marcus's final act of courage. My grandmother called, crying. My parents had told the entire extended family that I was having a psychotic break, that I'd fabricated evidence due to jealousy. She wanted to believe me, but didn't know what to think. The isolation tactic was working. Xavier violated bail again, showing up at Hallie's workplace. Security cameras caught everything, but he claimed he was just getting coffee and didn't know she worked there. The judge gave him a warning, nothing more. Coleman's investigation revealed financial records that made our case stronger. My parents had structured payments through their business, writing off victim settlements as consulting fees, tax fraud on top of conspiracy. The house they lived in had been refinanced 3 times to pay for Xavier's problems. problems. The PR firm my parents hired started a social media campaign, Stand with Xavier, trending locally. They painted him as a troubled young man dealing with addiction, seeking help for his issues, never specifying what kind of addiction. Mental health became their shield, my supposed instability their sword. Hallie's father called, demanding she come home. He'd seen the social media campaign and believed it. His daughter was ruining a good boy's life over a misunderstanding. Even after seeing her bruises, he insisted boys will be boys. The betrayal broke something in Hallie that the abuse hadn't managed to touch. Rebecca filed federal RICO charges. The courthouse steps swarmed with media and protesters. Half the town saw us as heroes, the other half as villains destroying their championship dreams. We entered through a side door, but Xavier's supporters found us anyway. The confrontation was brief, but violent. Xavier himself threw the first punch, breaking 2 of my ribs before Coleman's security detail intervened. Everything caught on camera. His bail was revoked, but only temporarily. Another judge, another connection, another release. The hospital became too familiar. Nurses whispered their own stories. One mentioned Xavier breaking her daughter's arm freshman year. Another talked about complaints that disappeared. The pattern was everywhere once people started looking. Coleman's team raided my parents' house. The hidden safe in my father's office contained meticulous records. Every payoff, every cover-up, every girl silenced with money that should have been for my education. They'd been managing Xavier's violence since he was 13. The school board meeting erupted into chaos when parents demanded answers. How many victims? How many cover-ups? How many futures destroyed to protect one golden boy? The superintendent resigned rather than answer questions. The coach took a sudden medical leave. Hallie miscarried during the stress of preparing her testimony. Xavier somehow found out and texted his teammate that the problem solved itself. The screenshot went viral within hours. Public opinion began shifting as people saw his true nature. Alabama formally revoked his scholarship. Other schools quietly withdrew interest. The NFL scouts who'd been circling disappeared overnight. His future in football evaporated, and my parents blamed me for it all. Their marriage imploded publicly. Outside the federal courthouse, my mother screamed at my father for creating a monster. He responded by revealing her affairs with boosters who'd helped cover up Xavier's crimes. Their dirty laundry aired for everyone to see. The forensic accountant found more. Booster money funneled through shell companies. Players' families paid to stay quiet about injuries during practice. A whole ecosystem of corruption with Xavier at the center. The federal case expanded beyond just my family. Mrs. Davies, my English teacher, offered her spare room. The school board threatened her job if she helped me. She took me in anyway, saying some things matter more than paychecks. Her courage inspired others to speak up. The documentary filmmaker arrived from New York. She'd been following similar cases nationwide. Our story fit a pattern. Golden boy athletes protected at any cost. She wanted to tell it right, with victims controlling the narrative. We agreed, hoping it might help others. Xavier posted a manifesto online before his lawyer could stop him. He blamed women for ruining men's futures, named specific targets for retaliation. The FBI added terroristic threat charges to his growing list. His supporters called it free speech. His victims called it evidence. My parents' assets were frozen by federal order. The house bought with blood money. The cars paid for with silence. Everything they'd built on the backs of Xavier's victims crumbled. They hired public defenders when their lawyer abandoned them for non-payment. Coleman's investigation spread to other schools. The same law firm, the same tactics, the same destroyed lives. Our case became a template for dismantling athletic protection rackets. What started with one video had become a federal investigation spanning multiple states. The middle school teacher who'd first reported Xavier's violence came forward. She'd been transferred, threatened, silenced, but she'd kept copies of everything. Her evidence showed the pattern started even earlier than we thought. Hallie entered intensive therapy. The psychiatric facility specialized in trauma recovery. Her testimony would come via video link to protect her fragile mental state. Even broken, she was determined to see justice done. The town divided completely. Businesses chose sides. The diner that had refused me service lost half its customers. The waitress who'd helped me started a support fund for victims. Lines were drawn that would never fully heal. More athletes were arrested as the investigation widened. The culture of protection ran deep. Each arrest brought new victims forward. The numbers became staggering. How many girls had suffered in silence for the glory of Friday Night Lights? I started studying for my GED in Ms. Davies' kitchen. College seemed impossible now, but education still mattered. Alicia helped with applications to schools far from here, places where my name meant nothing, where I could start over. The federal trial date was set. Xavier faced 25 years. My parents faced 10 each for conspiracy. The coach, the boosters, the whole network faced justice. But justice felt hollow compared to what we'd all lost. Alicia began adoption proceedings. At 21, she was barely an adult herself, but she wanted to provide legal stability for the trial, a real family to replace the one that had thrown me away. The paperwork felt like hope. My last visit to the family home was to collect belongings from the dumpster. Photo albums, my grandmother's quilt, things my parents had discarded along with me. Neighbors watched from windows, but no one spoke. The Golden Boy's house had become a crime scene. The threats continued, but felt emptier now. Xavier's support system crumbled as more evidence emerged. His teammates distanced themselves as NFL scouts blacklisted the entire program, their futures dimmed by association with his crimes. Rebecca Chen announced her candidacy for state attorney general. Her platform centered on reforming how athletic programs handle assault allegations. Our case had given her the profile to make real change. Sometimes justice comes in unexpected forms. The night before jury selection, I sat in Ms. Davies' kitchen studying for my GED. Alicia texted updates from the lawyer's office. Hallie sent a message from the facility. Just a heart emoji, but it meant everything. We'd survived this far. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, testimony, cross-examination, reliving trauma for strangers to judge. But tonight, I had a safe place to sleep. People who believed me. Evidence that would speak for all the silenced voices. They'd taken my family, my home, my future as I'd known it, but they'd given me something else, the chance to stop them from doing it to anyone else. And that was worth everything I'd lost. The courtroom was packed when I walked in for the sentencing. Coleman had prepared me for this moment, but seeing Xavier in orange jumpsuit still hit different. The judge read through the charges methodically quickly while I sat between Alicia and Mrs. Davies. 25 years. The gavel came down with finality. Xavier's reaction was immediate. He lunged toward me, screaming threats about what he'd do when he got out. The bailiffs wrestled him down while the judge added 5 more years for the outburst. My parents sat in the back row, their faces hollow. They'd both taken plea deals, 10 years each for conspiracy and tax fraud. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Coleman guided us to a waiting car while Rebecca handled the media. The civil suits would start next week. The university had already offered to settle rather than face trial. Marcus leaving his phone with all those text messages in his car? That's basically the modern version of leaving a trail of breadcrumbs, except these breadcrumbs lead straight to federal prison for everyone involved. $50 million to be divided among 12 confirmed victims. Money couldn't heal trauma, but it could pay for therapy and fresh starts. The drive back to Ms. Davies' house was quiet. I watched familiar streets pass by, knowing I'd be leaving soon. The advocacy group scholarship would cover tuition at a small college 3 states away. Somewhere my name meant nothing. Somewhere I could just be another freshman. That evening I drove past my childhood home one last time. The foreclosure sign was already up. In the driveway sat a dumpster filled with the remnants of our life. I parked and climbed out, needing to see if anything worth saving remained. Photo albums lay scattered among broken furniture. My grandmother's quilt, the one she'd made when I was born, was stuffed between garbage bags. I pulled it out, shaking off the debris. The high school announced new policies the next week. Mandatory consent education for all athletes. Anonymous reporting systems. They named the program after Marcus, whose death had sparked 7 more victims to come forward. His parents attended the dedication, their grief mixed with pride that their son's final act had protected others. More arrests followed as Coleman's investigation expanded. 3 assistant coaches, 2 boosters, the team doctor who'd falsified medical reports. The dominoes kept falling, each revelation bringing new victims forward. The culture of protection had infected every level of the program. I took my GED exam in a quiet room at the community college. The proctor, an older woman who'd followed the case, squeezed my shoulder when I finished. 3 hours later, the results came through, passed with high scores. Ms. Davies baked a cake to celebrate while Alicia started helping me pack for college. The documentary filmmaker interviewed me over 3 days. She let me review all footage, keeping her promise that victims would control the narrative. Hallie participated via video link from the treatment facility, her voice stronger than it had been in months. The film would premiere at a festival next year, but only in cities where none of us lived. My mother wrote from prison, 6 pages of blame and self-pity. I read it once, then returned it unopened. My father's letter came a week later, claiming innocence and announcing his plan to write a book. No publisher would touch it, but he kept trying. Some people never learn. Alicia's adoption petition was approved on my 18th birthday. The judge who'd once protected Xavier had been replaced by someone who understood chosen families. The courtroom was nearly empty, just us, Ms. Davies, and Rebecca. When the gavel came down, I finally had legal documents with my new name. A fresh start in every way. The town remained divided. Some businesses still displayed Xavier's jersey in their windows. Others had started victim support groups that met weekly. The diner that had refused me service closed after losing too many customers. The waitress who'd helped me opened her own cafe, hiring survivors who needed flexible schedules for therapy. 2 weeks before I left for college, news came through Coleman's office. Xavier had been called in prison. Another inmate whose sister had been assaulted by an athlete years ago. The guards found him in his cell during morning count. I felt nothing. No relief, no sadness. Just empty acknowledgement that his story had ended while his victim's healing continued. My mother was released early for testifying against my father. She tried contacting me through my grandmother, who reluctantly passed along the message. I agreed to one meeting at a neutral location. She spent an hour explaining how none of this would have happened if I'd just handled things privately. Some people never change. I left after 10 minutes. Hallie graduated from the treatment program and started working with a non-profit supporting assault survivors. She sent me a message thanking me for saving her life. I reminded her she'd saved herself by pressing charges. We stayed in touch through Alicia, building something like friendship from shared trauma. The FBI expanded their investigation to more schools. Our case became a template for identifying and prosecuting athletic protection networks. Coleman called occasionally with updates, careful not to share details that might pull me back into that world. I appreciated the boundaries. Rebecca Chen won her election for state attorney general. Her first act was creating a task force on athletic accountability. She invited me to testify before the legislature about my experience. I declined. My part in this story was ending. Others would carry it forward. The night before leaving for college, I sat in Ms. Davies' kitchen one last time. She'd been more of a parent these past months than my biological ones ever were. Alicia arrived with boxes and bubble wrap, ready to drive me to campus in the morning. We spent hours packing, sharing memories of how far we'd come since that night with a brick through her window. My freshman orientation included sessions on reporting systems and support resources. The other students had no idea who I was, and I kept it that way. Just another 18-year-old trying to figure out statistics homework and cafeteria food. The anonymity felt like freedom. 3 years passed. I majored in social work with a minor in legal studies. Alicia visited monthly, bringing updates on Hallie's advocacy work and the ongoing federal cases. More athletes had been convicted, more victims had found their voices. The system wasn't fixed, but cracks had formed in its foundation. Law school felt inevitable, not for the prestige or money, but for the tools it would provide. I specialized in Title IX compliance and victim advocacy. My first case involved a small college covering up assaults by their basketball team. Different sport, same pattern. I knew exactly how to dismantle their protection network. The wedding was small, just 20 people in Ms. Davies' backyard. Alicia walked me down the aisle while Hallie stood as a groomsperson. My biological parents weren't invited. Some bridges burned too completely to rebuild. My spouse understood the weight of my past and loved me anyway. Years accumulated. Each case I took followed similar patterns. Golden boys protected at any cost. Victims silenced with money and threats. Communities choosing wins over justice. I never sought fame or recognition. The work mattered more than credit. Helping one victim find their voice was worth more than any spotlight. The call came on a Tuesday. The Supreme Court had agreed to hear arguments in a case challenging university liability for athletic violence. consequence. The plaintiff's attorney wanted me as co-counsel, not for my name or story, but for my expertise in dismantling these systems. I accepted. Standing before the justices, I thought about that scared 17-year-old with garbage bags of belongings, about Alicia opening her door to a stranger, about Marcus finding courage too late, about Hallie rebuilding her life, about all the victims still waiting for justice. My argument was precise, grounded in law and precedent. No dramatics, no personal revelation, just methodical dismantling of the systems that protected predators. The justices asked hard questions. I had harder answers. Years of preparation distilled into 30 minutes that could change everything. The decision came months later. Universities could be held liable for systematic cover-ups. Athletic programs would face real consequences for protecting criminals. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. The ruling would help future victims in ways we never could have imagined that night in Alicia's apartment. I flew home for the announcement. Alicia met me at the airport, her hair gray now, but her smile unchanged. We drove past my old high school, where Marcus's memorial stood beside new policies that actually protected students, past the courthouse where everything had started, past the apartment where she'd given me shelter when I had nothing. That evening, I sat in her living room, a house now, bought with her salary as a victim's rights attorney. Hallie stopped by with her partner and daughter. We didn't talk about the case or the ruling or the years of pain that brought us here. We just existed together, a family forged by trauma but defined by survival. My phone buzzed with congratulations from colleagues and clients. I turned it off. Tomorrow would bring new cases, new victims needing help, new systems to dismantle. Tonight was for the people who'd stood by me when standing meant risking everything. Looking at Alicia and Hallie, I realized the greatest victory wasn't in any courtroom. It was in building a life worth living after everything tried to destroy us, in finding family among strangers, in turning survival into purpose. They'd taken my blood family, but I'd found something stronger. Justice isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet persistence over years. Sometimes it's helping one person at a time. Sometimes it's just refusing to let them win by living well despite their worst efforts. That's the justice I found, and it was enough. Thanks for reading this story with me. What a wild ride from start to finish. I hope you have a wonderful day filled with way less drama than this family had.